Hi everyone, we're going to sketch the graph of this polynomial f of x. So let's fill out some information. Our degree for this is just going to be 3. You just add up these multiplicities since this our f of x is not in standard form. So my n equals 3. My m behavior we're going to do later, but just know that n is an odd number and also my lead coefficient is positive. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Now our y-intercept is when x is 0. So everywhere there's an x, you put 0. And just multiply this out. So this equals 6. So the x-intercept is 0, 6. Our zeros are where y is 0. So if this is our y. If y is 0, then we get, this would be 1, because that makes it 0. This would make it negative 2 plus 2 is 0, and 3 minus 3 is 0. So there are your zeros. And we're going to write it like this, 1, 0, negative 2, 0, and 3, 0. Now the maximum turning points is where the graph turns direction. So our n is 3, so we do 3 minus 1 equals 2, and we're going to do this part last after we graph. Alright, so first thing we know is that we had our graph comparison is we have odd degree and it's positive. So it looks like this. Alright, and you can graph it or just know the graph. And the main thing we're doing is trying to determine the end behavior. So which quadrant are we starting and ending? We're going to be starting in quadrant 3 and ending in quadrant 1. You know, quadrant 1 is positive, positive, and quadrant 3 is negative, negative. Alright, so basically all this means is as x gets larger and larger from 0, so does my y. Alright, and that puts us in quadrant 1. Similarly, as x gets smaller and smaller from 0, so does my y. And that puts us in this quadrant 3 area here. Alright, so that's how we're going to look at it when we graph this. We're starting in quadrant 3, graphing left to right, going to end somewhere in quadrant 1. Now let's plot our y-intercept was 6. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, and our zeros were at 1 and 3 and negative 2. Now our multiplicity here was 1. That means we can cross the x-axis. So we're just going to start somewhere in this quadrant, go through the negative 2, go up to the 6, come back down, make a U-turn, go through the 1, back up through the 3. And that gave us our general characteristic of the graph. We're not going to worry about exactly what that is. If you want to know, you could actually plug in 2 and find that out. But we just want to get the general curve. And the last thing we need to do is determine where our graph, this is the line y equals 0. So we need to know where the graph is above y equals 0 and where is the graph below y equals 0. So and y is f of x. So f of x is positive right in here. And that's from negative 2 to 1. You're looking at your x values. Also here, from 3 to infinity. So in this area, it's positive. All right. Now, where is my f of x? Negative. So it's negative from negative infinity the 2, the values, this piece here. It's also negative in this area. It's below the y equals 0, so that's going to be 1 to 3. And that's it. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.